Let's see if we got anything in the chat. Sometimes it takes a little bit to come through. All right, while we wait for that, Alex, do you want to flip to the next slide? Okay, just some Zoom etiquette again. We're gonna remind ourselves about this. Keep your microphone off. Everybody's already done that, unless you're asking a question, which is great. We're recording this, so please turn off your cameras and again, your microphone, unless you're fine with that and you want to ask a question. 3, rename yourself to what it says on the screen there. 4, we have a zero tolerance chat. So of course it's great to ask questions and comment, but just don't be stupid. And to ask a question to any of our presenters, we'll have a Q&A time at the end. And you can also just type in a question during the presentation. Okay.
And Ben, we did have just one comment. It was from Adam Robb to everybody. It's tricky, but activism is knowledge in practice, knowledge plus work. Thanks for sharing,
Great.
Adam Robb from Central Memorial.
Okay, next slide, Alex. Okay, so if Alex is here, and he's listening to me, but he's our technical director, student technical director, and he is going to be presenting our land acknowledgement. Every meeting, a different youth director or youth organizer has been doing a land acknowledgement. So Alex, if you can.
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you guys hear me, Ben?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, give me half a second.
While we wait for Alex, if anybody knows what treaty land or nation that they're joining from, feel free to put that in the chat as well.
And we just had one other comment from Ava Vanderbeek. Yes, I also think that a huge part of activism is connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, connection to the land and connection to other people too, to what you're doing. I guess you gotta have a passion for it. So.
Hey, so can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Is everyone?
Yep, you're good to go, Alex.
Awesome, perfect. Thanks so much, guys. So bonjour, okay, aboitash, doneste, hello everyone. My name is Alexander from the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to this workshop. However, before we get started, I think it's very important that we take a moment not just to acknowledge the land that we're gathering virtually on, but to really think about what this place means, both to us and to all those who came before us. Today's workshop is about the various stakeholders involved in conservation and management of the Canadian Rockies. There are many groups that constitute stakeholders when we talk about these decisions. However, I believe that we really need to come together for these discussions and put special emphasis on the role that Indigenous peoples play as stakeholders in these spaces. I'm sure by now you've all heard about how the Canadian Rockies has been the traditional treaty territory of Indigenous people for thousands of years. But I think we need to take a moment to really step back and understand what it means and let the significance of this settle in. Throughout Turtle Island, North America, settlers and Indigenous people have agreed to share the land we occupy through treaties. And though many of these treaties have been broken and injustices have occurred, today, despite this, these people have persevered and continue to share our relationship with the land with us. I know this has been mentioned in almost every workshop, but I want to take a moment to revisit a story from our first Canadian Rockies Youth Summit. At that, sorry guys, I have to pause for 1 second. I had a script up here, but it's scrolling way too fast to read it. Okay. So on one of the first summits, we got to visit the Morbiley Homestead in Jasper National Park. This site is now used for hiking and recreation. However, it used to be where Métis family once lived and hunted before they were forcibly evicted during the creation of the park. This was a strong reminder that historically we have not acknowledged the role Indigenous people play as stakeholders in these parks. And we're only beginning to do that today. Part of acknowledging this role is acknowledging the land and the agreements our ancestors have made. By honoring our agreements and honoring the land that gives us life and well-being, we move closer towards trying to reconcile and supporting Indigenous voice in these types of decisions. Today, my colleagues and I are gathered here speaking to you from Treaty 7 territory, a spot where the Blackfoot Confederacy of the Siksika, Kainai, Kainai Nations, the Stoney Nakoda Nation, Tsuut'ina Nation, the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3 have lived for thousands of years, along with the settlers of Western Canada. We coexist within the land that we all share, love, and treasure. We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge this land and these agreements, and we'd encourage you to do the same with the land that you're currently joining us from and the agreements that exist in that place. So thank you guys so much, and let's get started, I guess, if that worked. Hopefully you guys could all hear me and stuff. I'm sorry if there's any technical problems.
That's great. Thank you, Alex.
I have this weird echo going on in my headset, so I can't really hear you super well, but.
Cool. Yeah, so if you could just put us back to the presentation slides. Thank you again, that's amazing. So before we start the workshop, I would also like to plug our summit. It goes from May 12th to 14th. On the 12th, it's in the evening, and we have a big campfire benefit concert. And it's gonna be really fun. We have student and adults, presenters and artists from all across Alberta and Canada who are gonna present. If you were here at the start of the workshop, you heard music from one of our keynote musicians, Emily Patterson. And you can see the rest of our agenda online. On the May 13th and 14th, we have many different outdoor activities, panels, debates. It's gonna be awesome. So if you can skip to
By now, you've all heard about in the tradition territory.
Let's please mute. If anybody isn't muted right now, if you can take a second to mute yourself, we'd greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, Mallory, I think also if you're the host, you can also mute it.
Yeah, I just did.
No problem. Cool. Yeah, so Alex, if you could flip 2 pages, I believe now. So a quick overview of today, we're looking at all different sorts of activism. Next slide again, Alex. We're gonna be looking at specifically 4 types of activism from 5 different people. Alex, you can skip to another one. Sorry, I didn't see the slide. Yeah, so action projects, I'll talk a little bit about them really quickly. So we kind of all know what action projects are, but I'm just gonna add here that they can be as general or specific as you'd like. It's really up to you to decide kind of where your passions lay and what action projects you want to pick up. And this is really important. When I started my project, I was interested in policy-based activism, but it could be simply woodworking or interest for a specific case study that inspires you to take action in the form of a project. You can go next slide, Alex. Alex, next slide, please.
Next slide, Alex.
So I guess I'll just talk while he's figuring that out. Yeah, so you can, I guess in the next slide, I just have a big list of all these different sorts of action projects I've seen my class before. You can see some classic ones like gardening, but you can even see some newer ones that I haven't really seen before, like starting a thrift store in our school. Or just even going outside to take time to connect with the land.
Is this just like a random thing? Okay, thank God. I thought it was in the call.
Swipe.
Okay, they're good. Okay, so yeah, all different sorts of action projects over the course of today and the summit. We're hoping to get you guys to engage with at least one of these ideas so you can pick up an action project at your own place. So without further ado, I'm going to present our first activism presentation. So we have a duo joining us. We have Tim Johnson and Jarrett TwoYoungmen. I'll give a quick bio to them. Tim Johnson is the program associate from the Yellowstone to Yukon Conservation Initiative. He's worked with the Stoney Nakoda AV Club to create a video to raise awareness for wildlife crossings. Additionally, he's worked with Y2Y to advocate for more sustainable highways. And when he has extra time, he works with other projects related to the stewardship of Kananaskis country. And Jarrett TwoYoungmen is the founder of the Stoney Nakoda AV Club. He's a filmer and musician from Morley, Alberta, who believes in sharing stories through art. Also, his films have been shown throughout Canada. So those two are going to present on wildlife connectivity activism. Take it away, Tim.
Great, thanks, Ben. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here today and for the opportunity for Y2Y to be part of this. So I'm just going to share my screen here. I've just got a few slides to share about Y2Y's work and what we do related to connectivity and some of the challenges and obstacles to wildlife connectivity. So can everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, so as Ben mentioned, I work with the Alberta team at Y2Y. I'm based here in Canmore on Treaty 7 land. And today I'll be talking mostly about our connectivity work and some of the challenges and solutions related to wildlife movement that we look at in the Y2Y region. We're a very large landscape organization. Y2Y was started nearly 30 years ago, and our main goal is to connect and protect habitat across a 3,200 kilometer length stretch of what's one of the most intact mountain ecosystems in the world. It's a critical area for wildlife. It's the traditional lands of over 30 indigenous groups. It supplies drinking water for over 15 million people. And so our mission in this landscape is to try to connect and protect habitat from Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming all the way up to Canada's Yukon so that people and nature can thrive. When we talk about the importance of this region, it still hosts nearly the full range of species that existed in the Mountain West before settler arrival. And one of the key species that we look at in this landscape are grizzly bears. Connectivity is important because small isolated populations of wildlife can go extinct. And when we look at grizzly bears, we often think of them as an umbrella species. It's a bit of a concept, but the gist of it is that if you can protect grizzly bears, which have such a wide-ranging need in terms of habitat and space, if you can protect areas where grizzlies can exist, generally you're going to see dozens of other species thriving and surviving as well too. So that's what we mean when we talk about grizzlies as an umbrella species. And it's an animal that used to range quite widely through North America, well out into the prairies. But by 1922, much of that range had been shrunk to very small populations. And you can see a lot of those are islands. So these are disconnected areas of habitat. And our work in connectivity aims to connect these landscapes to allow grizzlies to roam. There are species that need a lot of space in order to survive and to find mates and continue their existence. So it's thought that if we can restore and protect connectivity for grizzlies, then we're going to help a host of other species as well too. So part of my work at Y2Y is looking at threats to connectivity and how to improve them. So I'm just going to close the door here for a sec. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, small dog break. So one of the biggest barriers to wildlife movement and connectivity are roads. In Alberta here, 50% of reported accidents on roads are from collisions with wildlife, and it results in an average of 5 human fatalities every year. And it's also a really big cost to society. It costs us as humans over $280 million a year in terms of insurance, health claims. So it's a really big problem. And it's the one that does have solutions though. And some of those solutions are best known and best seen in Banff National Park. Now in Banff, let's see here, there we go. In Banff, crossings have been shown to work both to the benefit of humans and wildlife. If we can reduce collisions, not only are we allowing wildlife to roam and survive, but we're also reducing the risk to humans from colliding with these animals. So in Banff, there's 6 overpasses and over 35 underpasses, which connected with the fencing that runs along the Trans-Canada Highway has reduced wildlife vehicle collisions by up to 96%. That's for deer and elk, which are the most common animals hit. And these crossings have helped over 200,000 individuals cross a very busy highway. And so that's over 200,000 times that an animal didn't have to risk crossing the Trans-Canada and was able to move and find space and find mates on either side of the highway. So when we look at Banff, it's really a model and a success story. And the Bow Valley is one of the most significant wildlife corridors in North America. And this value does not just end at the park gates. So a lot of our work today is on trying to get more crossings outside of the national park. And when we think about the problem of wildlife vehicle collisions, we're often applying a human lens to it. But what about wildlife? What's it like for an animal that's trying to cross an increasingly busy Trans-Canada highway here? And so this is where I was really, really excited to be able to partner with the Nakoda AV Club. And the result is an amazing perspective on the issue of roads and wildlife and the landscape from the lens of the wildlife themselves. So it was a really neat opportunity to apply a very different focus and a different way of thinking about the problem of human wildlife collisions. I think the link to the Nakoda AV Club's animation was sent out and it's available too if you haven't checked it out yet. It's a really cool project. And there's also a neat making of documentary. So that about wraps it up for me. I guess we'll turn it over to Jarrett now, who can talk a little bit more about the project. Thanks. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I'm just like figuring out what to do here. Like I've never been a host on a computer before, like ever. And so I might screw up here. I don't know, because I never actually used this before, and I know I wasn't told about it. But anyway, I'll do my best. Yes, I'm Jarrett TwoYoungmen, and I'm Nakoda AV Club, the co-founder. And I actually speak Stoney fluently, and my second language is English. Sometimes my pronunciation is so bad, but in our Stoney way, we don't really address that. That's not important to us, because our important language is Stoney, because we always love the way we hear it feels like comfort to us when we speak our own language, and it's incredible how we actually hear them every time. And yes, I actually done a bunch of films, and I actually went through a lot of things through filming. And so, yes, and so this film that we actually did was with Y2Y. I did not expect that we gonna be having important connection with other people, and I thought that was a really important thing, because having a relationship is the most important thing, and I do want to share more about that. And so I guess I'll show the video here. And
Jarrett, we've already shared the video link with everybody to watch ahead of time, or they'll be able to watch it after. Unfortunately, the videos don't stream very well over Zoom, so maybe we can get into the discussion and how we connect to the land.
Okay, awesome. That's great, because I wasn't sure what's going on, because it just popped in that I'm the host now or something. I'm like, okay, I guess so. Yeah, and so yes, so like I said about relationship, is that since the dawn of my people have been a relation with the land. Being a relation is like being a family. If you think about your family, you are people that you are very close to, and others that you are less close to, but still are family. Family members should treat others with respect. Then if you don't respect your family, or if they don't respect you, it throws like off the balance in a family. So the member impacts another. So that's why it's always such a problem having a relationship and bad relationship. That's always a thing to us that is very important to us. So today it's harder to be in a relation, because we all have a different relationship with the land that we did long ago. But our teachings come from the land, and if our chose to be relation with the land, we can learn again. Yes, that's one of the important things. We can learn again. There are not loss. and they can never be lost or taken as long as we can spend time with the land, because that's just the thing that we actually do. We're the protectors of the land. We're protectors of the waters. We're actually protectors of animals. We are that people that we've been doing that for over years, a millennium or forever. We've been doing that like for a long time. So I'll ask you a question. So what are the ways that you think people can be relation with the land? And so maybe we can chat about that. What do you think? Does anybody actually would want to answer that in a way, or maybe on the chat?
So Jared, I think that we'll do, we'll put your breakaway questions into some breakaway rooms, and we'll set up some breakaway rooms. So Alex, if you want to turn to the next slide. Awesome. So Jared's breakaway questions were, what are some ways you can relate to the land? How can you have a relationship with the land? And what do you like most about the land, the trees, the mountains, the water, the grass, and why? So we are going to have 5 minutes to discuss those questions in your breakaway rooms. And for members of the summit team that are joining us, 1 will be Ava, 2 will be Liam, 3 will be Alex, 4 will be Lucas, and 5 will be Alex. So 5 minutes to discuss those questions.
Yeah, awesome. Should I still go on?
No, so you'll be assigned to one of those rooms, Jarrett.
Okay, so let's get started. So like, what are some ways that we can relate to the land? Any ideas?
Well, for me, it was just like when I grew up on a farm, so it was pretty easy. We were outside all day, every day. And
Alex, are you not in any of the breakaway rooms?
I'm just trying to move my second computer to the breakout room so this main one stays in the main room.
Okay, sounds good.
How do you put it into a breakout room? It's not.
I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it.
Room 3 is the room I was in, right? I think.
Yeah.
Just don't leave your raptors and stuff on the ground, because animals are gonna come by and eat them, and then they're gonna die somewhere else. And just keep your area clean. If you see garbage, even if it isn't yours, pick it up. Yeah.
Oh, it's not working. Slide or whatever that you'll see.
That's okay. I think someone was just speaking, Alex. I don't
Yeah,
know that.
SRLR9, just you can unmute and speak up.
Okay, so what I was talking about earlier is I think that like even with just like everyday leisure activities, whether it's sports or anything, we're kind of using the land.
Can you say that just a little bit louder? We didn't hear the end of your comment.
Sorry, so like I play soccer, so I'm always outside during the summers and everything, enjoying the land. And like even with my families, we go on hikes all the time.
Absolutely. That's definitely a relationship with the land. So what do some of you like the most about the land? Is there something specifically that you connect with it? If you climb mountains, maybe then it's the mountains you like about the land.
Okay, very trickling in slowly.